Okay, so this is a presentation on how to name compounds. And in case you don't already know, this is a periodic table. So for naming compounds, what you have to do, or the first thing that you have to do, is to know the ionic charges of each column. This column right over here has a +1 charge, because it's losing 1 electron. This column right here has a +2 charge. These guys are transition metals and will probably have, well, it varies, their charges. This column right here has a +3 charge. There's a pattern here. This column can go positive or -4. It works either way. So, this column is a -3 charge because it is gaining 3 electrons to get over here. And this column is a -2 charge because it only has to gain 2 electrons. This column right over here is a -1 charge because it is just 1 electron away. And then this column right here does not have a charge because all its atoms are stable and it does not need any more electrons. Okay. So first I'm going to show you how to do covalent bonds, which is a metal and or how to name covalent compounds, which is a nonmetal and a nonmetal. So just because it's easy, show you how to do H2O, which is H over here and O, oxygen, over here. What you have to do for that is, well, H has a +1 charge, and O has a -2 charge, so there have to be 2 hydrogens to balance out the equation. But that's not what this presentation is about. The presentation is about naming that. So, the next slide. So we already had H2O, and when you're doing covalent bonds, you use prefixes. And the prefixes that we use in this one are mono, which means 1, and di, which means 2. Okay, so also when you're doing when you're doing ionic or covalent bonds, you add "ide" to the end of the last molecule, or the last atom. So for this one, it would be dihydrogen monoxide. Dihydrogen monoxide is how you would name that, because it is a covalent bond. Now let's move on to ionic bonds, which is a metal and a non-metal. And for that we'll have to make a new slide, so I'll put in a new... Okay, there it is. So, as I said, for this we'll be using a metal, which is everything over here except for hydrogen, and a non-metal, which is the stuff over here and hydrogen. So just to make it kind of simple, let's use calcium and chlorine. Okay, calcium. Okay, so I'll make a new. So chlorine has a -1 charge. Yeah, chlorine is -1, and calcium is +2. So to balance this out, it would have to be calcium, chlorine 2. There would have to be 2 chlorines to balance out the calcium. but how would you name that? So for calcium, okay, so for calcium chlorine, there would have to be two of those. Okay, so this is a different kind of bond because there's a metal involved. And for metal, when there's a metal involved, that makes it an ionic bond. And with ionic bonds, we don't use prefixes. No prefixes. Okay. But you still add "ide" to the end of whatever you're doing. So the answer for this one would be calcium chloride. Okay. Cool.